So boys and girls, if we go back in our time machine to last week, you will remember that I showed you that on Pablo Picasso's artwork, we can see the front of the face with the two eyes, the nose, the lips, the whole enchilada. And we can also see the side of the face, or what we call the profile. Pretty awesome. Here I'm showing you with another example how we can see the front of the face, but we can also see the side of the face. If only I would move my shoulder. Here we go on one more. We see the front of the face and we can see the side of the face. And then you went and drew your own using glue. Well, today we get to start to color these things in, and we're going to be using soft pastels, not oil pastels, but the kind that are almost like chalk, and they have vibrant color, and we're going to be able to achieve a lot of the looks that Pablo Picasso loved to use in his own Cubist portraits. If you look here, you will see that on the tables, I'm going to have them organized by color family. And by that I mean that we will have one tray of warm colors and one of cool colors. Now, just as a reminder, warm colors are on one side of the color wheel, and they're yellows, oranges, reds. We sort of think of by a cozy fire. And then on the other side of the color wheel are cool colors, things that you would think of with ice or an iceberg, greens, blues, and purples. I also will have little cups in those sections specifically for the white pastels, and the lemons and the limes tend to get kind of dirty when they're with the rest of the pastels, so I have a separate cup for them as well. So do not forget your citrus colors. The lemons and the limes, let them be on their own. Now today, you are going to begin by choosing a color for one side of your face. So for example, I'm using pink. I'm actually using the side of the pastel, and I'm generally laying down a good bit of color, but notice that I'm even leaving some spaces blank. I'm going to be massaging that color later into the paper. Now, the rule of the day is that you always have to add a second color along the edge. And in this case, I'm adding white, which is the absence of all color. But anyway, I'm going along the edge here. And in just a minute, I'm going to use one solitary finger to gently blend that together and kind of massage it into the paper. We're going to have to work together to find out if maybe you're someone who kind of grinds the pastel into the paper and makes a lot of dust. There's always a little bit of dust with pastels, but there doesn't need to be lots and lots and lots. So notice I'm not trying to mix the pink and the white together over the entire shape. I'm just going along the edges. When you do get powder on your table or on your artwork, please just tap it sideways on the table and leave it there. We do not ever want to blow the pastel on our friends. That's a good way to lose friends. Now here are some ways that other kids colored theirs in. But I'm going to be having so many examples to inspire you today, you don't need to worry about a thing. I've decided that I'm going to continue doing that side of the face with orange, and just like I said, I'm now choosing a second color to go around the edges, and then I'm going to take out my little magical finger, make sure it's not too dirty from whatever you colored before, and you're going to blend it together. Please make sure that what you blend is that it's obvious that your fingers are getting dirty from a normal amount of blending and not that you're trying to cover your hands with pastel. Here I added some white to shine it up a little bit. Now this is an example of someone who just left, and I was looking over their art and I wanted to point something out to you. So they had chosen to do the one section of their face blue. But I can tell they added a little white to it, but I really want them to have two clear colors. So I'm going to go to the color wheel, and I would have asked them to choose a color that's near the main color on the color wheel. So because it's blue, I could have either gone purple or green. I'm deciding to go with a green color. And when I pick up that pastel, I'm only going to go around the edge. Do you see how I'm kind of going closely along the edge there? I'm not covering the entire shape, just the edge. And then what I'm going to do in a minute is take my finger and I'm just going to gently trace over it. You don't want to rub and rub and rub because then you're going to blend the two colors and they'll end up being the same color. I'm going to continue on here. You can see that over there, they actually did a great job of doing two colors on their own. They had chosen that pink color, and pink is kind of like red on the color wheel. And so next to it, they had chosen orange. Right on, perfection. They did it just right. Now I'm continuing to add in some other colors. And because I used warm colors on one side of the face, I might want to use cool colors on the opposite side, but you don't have to do that at all. It's totally up to you. I'm using the green, and remember, because I chose one color, I'm now going to choose a second, go around the edges, and then just use my little finger to magically blend them together, but not too much. Don't go crazy. I'm going to continue. Oh, here I am tapping. Good girl. No blowing on your friends. Now, here I'm doing purple. I noticed it seemed a little dark to me, so I decided to lighten it up with some pink, and I'm probably going to be using some white eventually as well. Now, you can also add things into your background. If when you sit down right away, you say, man, I wish that I had more details on here. Well, one thing that Picasso liked to do was to add things into the background. So don't worry if you have a lot of blank space back there. For example, something you could add would be stripes in the background. You see how he didn't even color it in? There he did kind of like a grid and then colored things in. But another thing that he likes to do is to add a chair. So in just a minute, I'm going to show you how to do that. But even now, when you look at these examples, you'll see the different designs that are in the background, crisscrosses and X's and different colors to embellish there. So I'm now noticing those chairs that he would have them sit in. And it could very well be that when you first were looking at this, you didn't even notice the chair. But he uses it a lot, and they're very easy to draw. I don't think you'll have any trouble with it at all. Basically, you're just going to put the two little knobby things that make up the chair, like right there. And then you're going to have a little post coming down, and then you'll have the back rest of that chair there. You don't have to do it like mine. It can be fancier. It can be even more plain, but it does give you just one more thing to color in your background to make it interesting. Another thing that you could do as well is to add a hat. Now notice I'm adding this in the black oil pastel, and when you do that, you're going to want to be careful that you don't smear it later on. But here I am, I'm deciding to add a hat. There are so many different styles of hats that he used in his artwork, so I just added that one right there. But there are tons of different options if you look carefully. And here I'm showing you that you don't want to accidentally smear that black oil pastel if you choose to use it to add something on. Otherwise, the glue works so great from last week because it will not smear at all. Now, another thing you might want to consider is adding some marks on the face. Now, you don't want to go scribbling all over the place. But if you want to use a color that's opposite from the color of the face on the color wheel, you can go ahead and just add a few marks here and there or some rosy cheeks. And again, as soon as you run out of an idea, just pull out those idea sheets that I already gave you and just look on there and go, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Now notice here we even have on his hat that he added some marks. But right here I am going to be explaining to you how it is that you go about choosing the color. In this case, before we were choosing something next to it, but if you want to draw a line design, you might want to do what's called the complementary color. And that means that it's going to be colored directly across on the color wheel. So if you look on a color wheel, the color that is directly across from green is red. And you'll see that when you put those colors on top of each other, they are going to be stunning. You don't want to blend them because then you're just going to make gook. But if you draw the lines, it'll work out great. Now at the end, you just might have a mess. Remember, we started off with warm and cool. We had our little lemons and our limes, and we had white. You can watch me sort here and see if you can spot if I'm doing this right. But at the very end, we will sort these back into their cups, and we're even going to be cleaning the table as well. Have fun.